It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Let's see here. Welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us today. We have just a ton of stuff. This is the first day of early voting in the state of Arkansas. And nationally, though, folks, there what appears to be, huge, at least a PR crisis that's happening. Here, listen to this. A headline: Growing caravan of migrants pushes deeper into Mexico. It's now up to, 7,000 people, according to the front page of the Drudge Report. They got through Guatemala into Mexico, and now they're heading for the United States border. Joining us now to talk about this, we have a national immigration expert, also the director of the Remembrance Project. Maria Espinoza is back with us. Maria, good morning to you.
Good morning, Paul. Thanks so much for having me on again.
Yes, it's always great to have you on. What's your take on this? I mean, we're 14 days from an election. Does that have anything to do with the timing of the 7,000 person strong caravan?
Oh, absolutely it does. In fact, remember the Honduran and El Salvadorian and Guatemalan leaders were here in Washington, D.C. last week, and their response to President Trump's cutting some of their foreign aid last year was simply that they will do what they can, but they want to be able to understand if they're going to get more funding in the future. So I think this is all political. This is certainly trying to pressure America, sort of extortion, in my opinion. And the day after Vice President Pence met with these other country leaders, that's when the caravan took off from Honduras. And now we're looking here, I believe that Guatemala and Mexico allowed this caravan to push through. I mean, we know that Mexico has stronger laws and enforces its southern border, much stronger than America enforces its southern border. And they will shoot you if you cross illegally into Mexico. And here they're allowed to come through. And make their way right up to the United States. And guess what? We take care of them. Not only do we give their countries U.S. foreign aid for specifically these types of problems and violence, economic purposes, but we now are being forced to take care of their citizens, those citizens that they no longer want in their country. So, yes, this is absolutely, number one, orchestrated and intentional, and yes, the midterms is key here.
Yeah, we have people that want to hurt the Trump administration domestically by hurting him politically. We've seen that with China, what they're trying to do to influence the midterms in states that Donald Trump won with, targeting on the farmers and everything else. And that affects us here in Arkansas. And now we have these countries south of the border. It seems they're doing the same thing. So let me ask you this. We've got Mexico. You say their immigration laws are pretty strict. They will shoot you if they cross the border. But we also know, just by general, consensus, Mexican officials are pretty easy to bribe. So my question is, do you think George Soros or some of these ultra-left, are they bribing the Mexican officials to let the migrants through?
Oh, that's hands down, I believe so, absolutely. Again, Mexico welcomes them, in my opinion. They'll, a few years back, remember they gave them a 3-day visa to cross through their country only on the terms that they would not remain in Mexico. So they're helping them get across. And now I'm looking at an article where the federal government is sending police officers to the southern border, 2 727 Boeing planes filled supposedly with federal police officers. My question is, when they get there, are they going to fill these planes with the members of this caravan and bring them up to, closer to our border? I don't trust Mexico. Obviously, they push out their citizens, and a few years ago I was doing some research, and learned that 2/3 of the illegal aliens at that time who were living in the United States were from Mexico, and they came from 6 to 7 states in Mexico. So that tells me that these individuals were intentionally encouraged to cross illegally. And we also have seen the pamphlets that was discovered back in the 90s. They were very basic, almost like comic strip pamphlets telling their citizens on how to get to the border, hire a coyote, what to wear, what to do, what to say with an agent finds you, and where to go to get help here in the United States. So.
And they also give them scripts, say this particular legal phrase, and now you'll be admitted into the country, and you'll have a court date.
The credible fear.
Yeah. We're talking with Maria Espinoza. Check out her stuff. It's the remembranceproject.org. It's an organization founded to remember those who have been murdered by illegal aliens. Like preventable deaths is the key there. If we would secure our border, have a immigration policy that actually works. Speaking of securing the border, Maria, I would like to know what you think about President Donald Trump's statement. He says, listen, these people are not getting in. He's come out and been pretty forceful at this point. He knows they're coming. And he's threatening to put the military, not reserves, but the military on the southern border. What are your thoughts on that?
We asked him to do just that last month. So he has been very patient. He has warned them, but if we don't enforce our laws, Paul, we have no country. We have no constitution. And number one priority is for our leader is to protect our country and its citizens. And that's what he's doing. And whether you are a Democrat, Republican, Independent, you have to side with safety here in the United States, and the Remembrance Project is the only organization in the country, and it's probably the world that we're seeing, because people from other countries are reaching out to us wanting the Remembrance Project and the Stolen Lives Quilt to go into their countries as well, because they're having the same types of problems, especially in the UK,
wow,
with illegal aliens there. But yes, I encourage President Donald Trump to place the troops on the border, double the ICE agents, and the immigration, the Border Patrol. But we also are asking all of your listeners there, Paul, to please recognize the National Remembrance Day for Americans killed by illegal aliens. This day we've recognized this day for 7 years now, and it is the first Sunday of each November. So come November 4th, we are going to have another event here in Washington, D.C., in Lafayette Park, near the White House, to remember and honor our fellow fallen Americans, because they are permanently separated from their loved ones, and they should still be here if only our laws were enforced and politicians placed American lives first.
That's exactly right, putting American lives first. So you said this. You said this earlier, that you have these leaders from these countries. They met with Vice President Pence, and then about maybe not getting as much U.S. money, and then they send this this force. And so I got this text right after you said that, and somebody has a question: Are we paying Honduras not to invade the United States, or if we stop paying them our taxpayer dollars, they send an invasion force? I mean, think about that. What other response would any leader have but to then send troops to the border?
Exactly. And again, President Trump has tweeted that no more money will be given to Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador if they do not stop and come pick up their people and return them to their countries. That's exactly what's going on. And you were talking earlier in your show on the left. This is not a matter, an issue about politics, Paul. We're so far beyond that. If we don't stop and think about what we're doing here and place American first and do what's best, just like President Donald Trump is doing, he has the best interests of America in mind. And, understand that the entire Democrat Party will completely resist him no matter what he says. Many of the Republicans will so as well. But, I can't tell people how to vote or who to vote for, but you certainly can vote for those individuals who will emulate and work with President Donald Trump, and that is placing our security, our national security, and the safety and the economic success of this country first and foremost. If America goes down, Paul, we have nowhere to go. We are the beacon of freedom. So this is what's at stake here. This is much more than politics. This is about a survival of America.
Yeah, it's echoing President Ronald Reagan. So they're in Mexico now, this caravan. We're 14 days until November 6th. Early voting starts today, in Arkansas, and I think across the country as well. When are they going to get there? And I guess I'm like, how many days out of the election are they going to be there? They're going to be at the border. If President Trump then sends the military and activates them, CNN, everybody, we're going to have cameras there, and there's going to be this very tense atmosphere, I would imagine.
Right.
And what is that? I mean, can you imagine the powder keg that could potentially be?
Well, I think the American people are fed up. Let's look at on the flip side. If you don't have compassion for American children, we have a whole banners full of our stolen West Quilt banners with American children killed. We have so many families that I can sit here and list, and we can sit here and talk about for hours the stories. And just last night I spoke to another family. This is an everyday thing for us where we're trying to keep up with the carnage, Paul, and we simply cannot. We have wonderful youth who are being killed by illegal aliens. We're bringing in more supposedly UACs, unaccompanied minors, here, unaccompanied children. I guess they changed that word to make it a little more heart-tugging, but who are here sitting next to our children in schools. These other kids came from chaos, and this is what they're bringing in the culture, and they're recruiting gang members, and that's why the uptick in the MS-13 gang membership and the violence. They're thumbing their noses to our laws and to its citizens. But you're right. What the media wants is that climax there at the border and the cameras. You bet they're going to be at the border with those cameras, every single news station, where they never came into the press conference room when President Trump was meeting with our families. They panned away.
Yes.
So this is the fake news has been exposed. These countries exposed for taking advantage of the generous American taxpayer. We have 500,000 American orphan children who need good homes and a better life. We have 13 million children who live in poverty and probably go to bed hungry. Let's clean our house and making sure that we're taking care of our children first before we start looking at the fake news and their cameras where they put women and children at the front. Pregnant women coming on this whole trek is completely ridiculous.
Yes. Yeah.
No woman who cared for their child would put themselves in that situation. Plus, you have parents sending their young daughters on birth control to cross the border with a coyote, knowing that they're going to be raped. What kind of people, what kind of character are these people coming from? Who are they? We don't need any more crime, Paul. We need to stop importing crime. We've got plenty of problems in Chicago and Detroit. Why are we welcoming this chaotic group of people?
I completely agree. And, that's the whole point of having a sovereign nation, is being able to decide who gets to come and who doesn't get to come. And so that's a really good points that you're making. The left has been – oh, go ahead.
Our baseline, Paul, is that we do not have to allow anyone into our country, and that's what every American citizen has to think about. Our baseline is simply that. We don't have to allow anyone into our country. It's better, in my opinion, to be able to teach other countries to fish and how to take care and be able to, for their citizens, to force the kind of government that they're fleeing to, not to bring their problems here.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we're very generous, and we can help them there, and that's what we're doing. That's what President Trump is using this U.S. foreign aid to, as a way to try to make those countries be good leaders and, be good parents.
The left has been using this phrase for the last 18 months, and the phrase is this: influence the outcome of an election. I look at these and this is an actual attempt to do that. This 7,000 caravan, that's what it actually looks like. This is an attempt to influence the outcome of an election. But don't expect any analysis like that from the mainstream media. They're going to sit on their moral high horse, and they're going to claim that Donald Trump is heartless and is a totalitarian for securing the border, because he's at the point now, unless these people are stopped, he's not going to back down. I mean, he's shown that multiple times. I saw somebody, even suggest that, hey, maybe you shut down, not only use the military to secure the border, but you also just shut down the legal crossing. Just absolutely shut it down, say nobody in, nobody out for a period of time, which we did do in 1985 after one of our federal agents was killed at the border.
Right, exactly. We have to do this. I'm from Texas originally. We're here in Washington, D.C. now. It's very important that we are here looking over the shoulder of these politicians, and I can tell you that the people will save this country because we're going to band together and do what's right. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, and that's why the walk away movement has picked up and taken hold here across the country, because they're seeing that this is not about politics or parties. This is about the survival of America. And if you take a look at what's going on in the streets, Paul, with the Antifa and how they can attack, there's a video out there went viral where a young man verbally attacked the widow of a fallen police officer during the 9/11 terrorist attacks. This is unacceptable behavior, and if you're wearing a MAGA hat supporting President Trump, then you can be, assaulted. This is just outrageous, this type of behavior, and know that these people do get paid, and we've known this for several years. The Remembrance Project started in 2009, and, our eyes were just, eyes wide open when you pull that curtain back and you're seeing more and more on what's really taking place. How can you stop? Because no one else is doing this, and no one else sees some of the things that we do. Hearing some of the families, a mother who was denied to give her victim impact statement when her only son was murdered. And these are activist judges that President Trump actually created the Office of Voice last year, Victims of Immigration Crime Engagement, as a promise to the Remembrance Project. And one of the key elements was to help navigate through the court system, which is why we wanted to, which is the reason we wanted that was to expose these activist judges. And you can see that Obama pushed through this so-called executive order of DACA. And now, why can't President Trump remove that? He can't. He should be able to rescind it. But guess what? It's stuck there, stalled in the Ninth Circuit Court.
Yeah. Wow.
Exactly. So Americans, please stand up. Call President Trump. Number one, ask him for the National Day of Remembrance. We want a proclamation from the President. I'll give the number. It's 202-456-1111. And please let him know to place those troops at the border and protect American lives.
Maria Espinoza, the website, theremembranceproject.org. Maria, it's always great to have you on. Thank you for your thoughts, and hopefully, this caravan will be stopped. That's my hope, and I hope you have a great day, Maria.
Thank you so much, Paul, and God bless you. Keep praying.
Yes.